Upon the first introduction of Darth Maul in Star Wars Episode 1, the iconic Zabrak was depicted as a largely unimportant character, who served as nothing more than physical opposition for the protagonists of The Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Though he served as the catalyst for one of the most iconic and engaging lightsaber duels in the franchise's history, and is often regarded as a substantially cool character, he was utterly devoid of characterization and motivation. Maul had virtually no lines and was killed off to make way for Count Dooku to take the reins as the leading opposition for Episode 2 and the beginning of Episode 3. It wasn't until the animated Clone Wars series resurrected the character and allowed him to rise to prominence once again that Maul was given more character depth and importance within the greater Star Wars lore. The series fleshed out his motivation, characterization, and ambitions, as well as gave him substantial storylines and quests to embark upon before going on to take part in other vastly lucrative Star Wars projects, becoming a fan favorite character in the process beyond simply his cool and intriguing design. Though he has received more attention in recent years, much of his past has largely gone unexplored and underdeveloped on screen. Speaking strictly of Darth Maul's origins beyond simply some spoken dialogue, we haven't really gotten any story about his origin, not beyond his young Sith years. I'm talking about when he was a child, and what his life was like there, not to mention how he was taken under the fold of the Sith to begin with. Much of Maul's story has been focusing more on his present time and the time leading up to his eventual defeat at the hands of Obi-Wan Kenobi, though the details of his backstory can be explored in depth through various forms of expanded material and extended media. One particular new book, Myths and Fables, gives us a significant insight into the Zabrak's tragic story and rise to prominence as Lord Maul, which drastically alters the story of his Legends counterpart and makes the story of Darth Maul far more tragic than was originally anticipated. So stick with us, weary travelers of the galaxy, and let's delve into Maul's origins and the specific events that led to his inclusion in the Phantom Menace, as well as some of the events that formed him into the formidable Sith assassin and feared leader of the criminal underworld that he would become and would become known for later in his Star Wars tenure. Born and raised under the care of Mother Talzin and the Night Sisters, the innocence of his childhood was quickly discarded as he was sold into slavery by Talzin in order to make her own self-interest come to light. It was revealed in the novel that Talzin originally advocated for herself to be Palpatine's original apprentice after the eventual death of his master, Darth Plagueis. In order to do this, Talzin was advised to surrender her attachments and learn to part with what she cared for the most, which included an adolescent Maul, in preparation for her eventual induction into the Sith Order that would never come to fruition. What's interesting about this, however, to note is the eerie similarities that these views have with the established Jedi Order and tradition, who pride themselves on being warriors of the light and knights of the prosperity and justice of the galaxy, yet they do this by severing ties with personal attachments in the service of the Force and the wider order. Though this hypocrisy and narrow-minded view eventually led to the downfall of the Order and highlighted the dogmatic principles which the Jedi were founded upon, the depth of this topic is more adequately suited for another video focusing specifically on this idea at some point down the line. Upon his eventual discovery and interest by Darth Sidious, Maul was technically in violation of the Sith Rule of Two, seeing as Darth Plagueis was still alive at this point in time, and now so was Maul when he was indoctrinated into the Sith Order. What was surprising when Sidious decided to choose Darth Maul as his apprentice over Talzin was the pure rage and hatred that Maul had within himself, being abandoned by his mother, not to mention being born on the world of Dathomir, a location strong with the dark side of the Force. It was Darth Maul's inner rage of being betrayed, though, that truly made him a prime candidate for the Sith. More suitable than his mother was, who had simply given up attachments. Darth Maul had truly suffered, making him an ideal Sith assassin. Though Palpatine was able to conduct Maul's training in a clandestine facility on Mustafar under the guise that he would remain a Sith assassin and become the frontman for the most dangerous Sith missions, as both Palpatine and Plagueis were too valuable. Though Plagueis was right to be skeptical given the nature of the Sith, they both agreed that an assassin would be a valuable ally while also being very easily expendable, especially seeing as the two Sith Lords were prominent public figures and had to rely on the security of the shadows to conduct their affairs in secret. secret and could not risk public displays of raw dark side power. This would allow Maul to be easily cast out or replaced, putting himself on the line and being the most prominent public opposition to the Jedi Order, while allowing Plagueis and Sidious to remain confined within the shadows, pulling the strings in secret and orchestrating their own agendas, unbeknownst to the Senate and the wider Jedi Order. They agreed to train Maul under the assumption that he would soon be inevitably killed and replaced once the hierarchy of the Sith took full effect, though Sidious quite notably had other plans that resulted in the eventual death of Darth Plagueis as he slept. This relegated Maul to a Sith assassin and a formidable warrior, rather than being a formal inclusion into the Sith Order for the majority of his tenure as a Sith, as he was initially denied the title of Sith Apprentice for the time being, and at the beginning of his training, though he continued to hone his skills under Palpatine's guidance. The larger mysteries of the dark side, though, simply escaped Maul, as he was never taught them. Instead, he was taught to channel his anger into the dark side, and mastered his iconic dual-bladed lightsaber. His first official mission wouldn't occur until roughly a year before the blockade of Naboo, and the subsequent events of the Phantom Menace, which would eventually result in the death of Qui-Gon Jinn and the supposed death and defeat of Maul. During this assignment, he was tasked with creating disarray and chaos among the Black Sun criminal organization, a task at which he excelled. He marched through the upper ranks of the organization, decimating the hierarchy with minimal effort, and executing the highest lieutenants within the organization. After defeating the most dangerous bodyguards and gifted combatants that they had to offer, he proceeded to slaughter the survivors and annihilate the kingdom before moving on to the group's leader, Alexei Garn. His final confrontation before slaughtering Garn was fellow Dathomirian and Night Sister Michaela, who confronted the Dark Lord and was soon defeated by a savage Maul at the dusk of his first assignment, leaving the organization in shambles and returning to a highly pleased Lord Sidious. While Plagueis was still alive at this point, the seeds were being sown for Maul to ascend to the title of a formal Sith Apprentice, though much like Mother Talzin's ambitions, they would never come to full fruition, as he would meet his defeat at the hands of a Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi before Sidious's execution of his master, putting a wrench in the plans of Darth Sidious, at least for the time being, and before another, more powerful apprentice would arise in the form of Dooku. This left Sidious to believe that both his master and his prospective apprentice were dead, leaving him to search for an adequate replacement, which would eventually lead him to the fallen Jedi Master, Dooku, leading into the events of Attack of the Clones, though Maul would fester in isolation until the events of the Clone Wars, when he would be pulled from the shadows once again, and rise through the ranks of the criminal underworld, proclaiming himself to be a Sith, although Sidious had to put him in his place yet again, revealing to the fallen apprentice that there can only be two, himself and Dooku, and that Maul and Savage Opress had been replaced, leading Maul to reveal his place, his true identity as a gangster and an underworld leader. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this facet of Maul's past? And how do you feel about Maul being sold into slavery by Mother Talzin before being selected as an apprentice by Darth Sidious? How do you feel about this addition to Maul's backstory in canon? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. Hit that subscribe button, may the Force be with you, and I hope to see you in the next video.